Into the viral video of a North Carolina teacher resigning. So we first saw this. Well, I first saw this on I Been Preach, and I was like, man, I kind of want to talk about this because I thought this was kind of, I don't know. Let's just watch it and then we'll react to it. Okay, boom.
So I can dismiss the
This
rest
is why
of the
this is
class.
funny.
Does anyone else want to try my authority? Because I
Okay, you see,
fucking
already.
done playing with you idiots. I am here because I want to be here. I somewhat enjoy this job. You need something from me. I need nothing from you. You can go through life and live on the fucking system, draw your paycheck on the 1st and the 15th from my taxes, and live just an absolute horrible life. I don't care. You can be another statistic. I don't care. That's on you. And if you think it's funny, I can take you down to the county office and we'll pull the fucking numbers. And if you don't like my language, I don't give a shit. Because you've said worse. And if you, again, Samaya, you leave too. Get out now. Get your shit, get out.
I'm not.
Get out now. I didn't fucking out.
Damn. Okay.
Oh man.
So let's get a little context of what's going on. Because after I saw that, I was like, I need to know specifically what triggered him. Because it's like, man. So this was in Jacksonville, North Carolina. A teacher from Southwest Onslow High School in Jacksonville, North Carolina, resigned last week after a viral video spread on social media. On March 17th, a staff member of the school reacted with what Onslow County officials called intolerable behavior in front of students. The video contains audio of the teacher screaming and using inappropriate language at students. The student who took the video in the classroom, sophomore, I don't even try to say that name, Josie, said her teacher became angry after a comment a student made to him. Josie said that morning the teacher gave them a quiz over what they were learning in class while he played war reenactment videos on the screen. She said the teacher allegedly asked them to put their phones and laptops away, and another student made a comment saying, quote, "I'm going to put my computer away before you start whining and whining," unquote. Josie said the student and her teacher had a joking relationship, so the comment wasn't abnormal, but it's what caused the outburst. She said the teacher then proceeded to yell at the students. Josie then got her phone out to record because of the language he was using. She said the teacher redirected his anger at her because she was laughing while recording. I don't think that's specifically why. The teacher then got in her face with a golf club. What? The teacher then got in her face with a golf club, swinging it on the desk and floor, as well as throwing a book on the ground, according to Josie. Last one, let's get into it. A student from another class overheard the commotion and came in to intervene and pull her out of the classroom, said Josie. She said the most hurtful thing her teacher said to her was that she was going to be a statistic living off in taxes the first and I think he didn't say that in the, okay, let's get into it. So first thing I just want to address is I don't really think his language was all that crazy in my opinion. I think I've heard worse.
Bugging.
I'm not saying he wasn't bugging, don't get me wrong, but I'm saying his language specifically.
No, it wasn't.
I've definitely heard worse.
It wasn't abusive towards them. Like it wasn't. None of the F words or anything it was directed towards.
You didn't call them fuckers or little shits or anything like that.
I think he said idiots. That's it. I think that was.
You can be idiots if you want and live off the tax or something like that. Okay, fair. Boom.
No, he straight up calls them idiots. The first time he's like, "I'm tired of something with you idiots."
Okay.
And,
okay.
And then he keeps going. But that is the only, I think,
reference to them. Yeah.
Okay.
Directly at them.
Okay. But I guess first thing I want to address is like, I don't think that was out of the normal, especially in high school. That's when I first was reading this and preparing this was this in high school? And like you said right there, boom, Onslow High School. That makes sense. I've had so many teachers to coaches to non-coaches like curse or even 100%. Say some things that were inappropriate that were way worse.
Way worse.
And it goes to now to complete my point is have students got a little more sensitive?
Obviously, students have got a little bit more sensitive.
Obviously, I know I'm making a very obvious point, but I just want to bring it in so we can get this discussion going. I'm trying to jump start the conversation.
No. I'm saying they obviously have. Like, it's literally apparent.
Yeah.
Like, it's not even questionable at this point anymore. Like, you see it in how we're handling everything, but can you blame the students if they're students? They're learning this from somewhere. Like, they're students.
Facts.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's definitely facts.
So I wasn't saying that to poo-poo your point or nothing like that. I was just saying, like, physically apparent. But to that point, he's dead-ass wrong then. He can say what he's saying and he can make his points. But the whole point to me is the emotion behind it was not He could have said those things calmly and actually not been in trouble because he didn't direct it specifically at.
I hear what you're saying, but let me finish your point, and then I'll disagree.
I'm saying because he was yelling is what I'm saying. What if you're saying what he's saying wasn't too bad? If you take the yelling out of it, how is that taken? Do you think we still have the same report?
I don't think you'll have the raw video, but the issue also is would they have listened to him and respected him and like it was cringe when he said it. But they wouldn't have respected his authority. They wouldn't have listened to him. They would have done what he asked, blah, blah, blah. That's why I said I went through worse. Like, at my high school, I'm not going to say what high school, but at my high school, kids, they were brutal. Like, I remember them cursing at teachers, you know, sometimes even throwing things at teachers. Like, I remember we had a substitute teacher one time, made her leave the class crying.
I believe it.
I was like, wow.
And to your point, the student didn't say whining and whining. That's not regular language. The student said bitching and whining. That's most likely what they said. 2, she's conflating the end of the video when he said the statistic thing way earlier in the video. Her problem is she live recorded her face, so her reaction shows that him saying that did not affect her in the way that she's stating it did afterwards. But to her point,
the victim card,
a lawyer would say, "Oh, it didn't soak in" or whatever. She was in shock. That's what a lawyer would say. That's all I'm saying. They're both just wrong. Like, the students was probably wilding, doing all the shit that they're not supposed to be doing, and the teacher, obviously, like, I remember I have a teacher who has that voice in my head right now who lost it just like that. But
me
like,
too.
you know what I'm saying? Like, exactly. He was a history teacher, and like he lost his shit. The thing y'all have to, I guess, what we're actually supposed to talk about is, do you think it was racial? Because the statistics and all the stuff, he said you don't want to be a statistic, but he was very general. He wasn't specific. He didn't say anything about anybody's color. Is the demographic in that city mostly black? Is the demographic in the class mostly black? Like, I don't know these things. So I can't speak to if he was, you know what I'm saying? I just think he was an upset dude trying to say you'll end up in jail or something like that if you don't take school seriously. And they probably weren't taking his class seriously.
I've seen teachers get mad like that all the time, and they always threw that same argument, like, you're going to end up living off the government. That was always like their go-to. Like, I'm super frustrated with y'all. Y'all are going to fall through the cracks, flipping burgers and stuff like that. And that's like always the go-to aggression. I always heard. To Gene's point, like, there's two ends of the spectrum whenever I've heard teachers pop off. Like, they either get so frustrated that they just turn into that dude and they go like drill sergeant mode, or they get so frustrated that they break emotionally and just start crying and run off. Because I've seen the same thing happen. I think really the weird issue of it all is that you have kids weaponizing surveillance.
Yes.
And that's the freaky thing. Like, as an adult, that's something you have to consider. Like, and you have to kind of preemptively think about it whenever you interact with a kid, because he's going to surveil it. And he's going to put it out on the internet and try to like cancel you and stuff like that. And he knows it works because he's learned that society just accepts it at this point. And that, I think, is going to bring weird conditions. Like, I mean, before it was always just like turn off your cell phones, don't get texts. And like, if you get caught texting in class, like
take your phone.
Get in trouble. Yeah, exactly. But now, like, everybody has a phone and you can hide them. People have like the watch can fucking text, man. Yeah, what am I gonna tell them? Take off your watches and stuff like that. Like, it's kind of weird too. So there's just so much surveillance that teachers, I think, have to account for it, and I think it's making the job extremely difficult. And this guy was probably just like a super old school teacher who's used to just like berating kids to get them to kind of fall in line. You know what I mean? And
like a disciplinarian kind of thing.
Yeah, like a disciplinary teacher. Like, that's probably his style. And
that doesn't work nowadays.
Yeah, I don't know if it's gonna work because everyone's being watched.
I don't know if everyone's being watched. I don't know. Yeah, that's.
Well, maybe, okay, I agree. It's probably not everyone. Let me rephrase that. Everybody has the potential to be watched.
Which is good, because think about this, right? In the past 40 years, 45 years, we went from the teachers being able to whoop the kids in the school to where we are now. That's a lot of change.
But I think there has to be
really fast. It has to be paced. There has to be regulated and all that stuff. So
fair.
There's a balance, and we're overcorrecting. But to that point, I just want to ask both of y'all one question. It seems like the teacher is really similar to what a celebrity would go through. Like, as far as being filmed, you got to be careful what you say.
Like the Britney Spears outburst.
Just even the stuff that comes with the job. If you're like for example, a star athlete,
and they were all there to record
and you're getting heckled, and you lose it, and we see the athletes lose it, and we're like, oh, you're getting paid You're getting paid millions, and obviously a teacher isn't getting paid millions, but like it's part of the job, is what it's often said. What part of that is part of the job, and when does it stop? What is, you know what I'm saying? Because like they have a lot, and just to a star athlete, they have a lot in comparison, like to compare as far as like what they have to deal with on their job. Because kids are horrible, like they're terrible.
I think that's one thing we don't consider anymore is the fact that kids, especially in high school, are horrible.
Mm-hmm.
Like these teachers, like we expect a lot from them. Well, I'll address your point real quick, and after I want to real quick address a point that Auburn Preach specifically made, which was, or maybe it was Abba. Either way, on their show, there's a lack of teachers.
Mm-hmm.
Teachers don't get paid much
At all.
and there's also, from the lack of teachers, there's a mass exodus of teachers. So now we're about to do this. We don't know if he's a good teacher or not. They try to make, I don't know if they or some comments I read try to make the argument that because of his passion and emotions, it shows that he actually cared. His little rant showed that he cared. Maybe not. We don't know.
This podcast is sponsored by Angel Blinds, a local Atlanta, Georgia area small business. Their blinds help you get a new look for your living room, your bedroom, your dining room, and they even have customizable blinds for your kids. You can put their favorite superhero or princesses on there. If you use our promo code FDT, our audience gets 10% off their first purchase. You're welcome. You can find them on their Facebook page at Angel Blinds or hit them up on Instagram at angels_blinds. Get at them.
Cool.
Bing bong.
That's your point. As a teacher, specifically in high school, what can you and can't you tolerate? Because you're right. If students aren't listening to you, they're disrespecting you, being belligerent or obnoxious or just dysfunctional or whatever, disobedient, whatever you want to call it. What can't you now exert when it comes to maintaining the class, as the word he used, flexing his authority in class, having a position of authority in the class? Like, that's why I don't really care the fact that his word uses words. He got a little heated, use some words. Like, who cares? Like, it's in high school. These kids can handle words. They should at least be able to handle words. And in modern times, that seems to be harder and harder, which is incredibly unfortunate and sad and very revealing in our society nowadays. But they should be able to handle words. And the fact that from the video, the kids understand, like Doc said, utilizing the surveillance aspect of their phones, now understand that if I can get my teacher to get riled up, I can potentially get a case against him if I don't like him to either, one, get fired, or two, gain some popularity brownie points on my high school social status. It's like, it's just, where does it start? Where does it begin? What can and can't they do?
Okay with canceling anybody's source of income is wild.
Very wild.
Like, it's a wild thing.
So I want to ask a question to you. Oh, go on, Doc.
I think before you ask your question, I think the dangerous line is when you start using it to dismantle a discipline. Like I do kickboxing and stuff like that. Like if my coach is teaching me something and then I film something and I in the context of the class, I mean, like, look at him, he's abusing me. And then, because I just don't personally like that person or something like that, or maybe I just get like a wild hair, I decide to be evil or something, I don't know. When I start using it in extremely selfish ways, and I know that it can dismantle discipline and like institutions and stuff like that, then I think it starts to become degenerate and just completely, destroying society and stuff like that. Because I feel like that teacher, like, unless he was genuinely like, and it's rough because I don't have the context of like this personality and the situation individually and stuff like that. But if the guy was genuinely excited to teach them about like the particular moment of whatever his course was, and then he just looked over and saw these kids just kind of like not distracted even caring and stuff like that. Yeah, and then he just kind of got frustrated.
Every teacher ain't Coach Carter, man.
Yeah, he just went off and stuff like that. But like Coach Carter couldn't exist anymore because he would just get filmed giving one fucking like mean talk to a kid. Denzel Washington
doing suicides.
Lean on Me couldn't exist.
Yeah, Denzel Washington couldn't do it. Remember the Titans? The moment they fucking saw him screaming at Petey, they would have fucking canceled him and he would have lost his job and he never would have gone on to win the state championship. Like that's kind of the dangerous thread that we're walking with that. And I think a lot of kids don't think about that because they're just kind of in it for themselves to be like, oh, I'm gonna,
trying to go viral.
Yeah, come at me, coach.
Well, it's just selfish things, exactly. Viral, like they want that fame, that notoriety, just to be whatever, like popular. And that brings me to the question. Perfect, honestly. Do you believe, or is there some kind of balance to teachers being able to discipline? And I use that word discipline loosely because I don't mean like literally like spank or beat, but like how can teachers...
My parents used to pull up and specifically let the teacher know they had... we understand the laws, but you can beat our child. Don't worry. We understand. No. Don't worry about that. Me and you you can beat our child. And so that's how I grew.
So you had to know, like, I gotta be right.
That's how I grew up, man. You said, is there a specific what?
I'm trying to find a better way to word it, different word than discipline, but I guess to get my question out there is just, where's the balance to discipline when it comes to teachers and students? Do you think teachers should discipline? And that's why I said the word discipline loosely, because I don't literally mean like spank, beat, or whatever, even though, and like you said in the example back then, some teachers did and some teachers didn't, but there was that, I guess, fear of the teacher having that disciplinary authority over you that kind of puts you in check, arguably. That is now out. Like, there is no more respect when it comes to teachers. Like, no more respect. Zero.
That's how you get popular. In fact, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
But,
so for me, the disciplinary thing, I've always found the line that I learned, like, you know, in sports, music, and all that stuff. And you have to maintain the person's self-esteem. Like, for one, you have to listen to them, and you also have to maintain their self-esteem. But aside from that, I think for me, the disciplinary thing where I go too far is that I'm pretty elitist. And so to me, if you fail, you fail, and I don't care. So like I work with you, but if like you know what I mean, if you're not showing me the effort, I don't care if you fail. I'll put in the time and then see what happens, and then just be like, all right, bye. But that's kind of it. Like, a lot of mentalities like, no, you have to do everything, you have to nurture them, and you have to do it. And it's kind of just like, dude, why? Like, if you want to learn this, come to me and show me that you want it. I don't know, maybe I'm like too into kung fu movies where I'm just like, you're gonna walk up those 1,000 steps every morning if you actually want to learn what I gotta teach you. If you don't, well, then I'm not gonna waste my time. That's kind of me, where I have to be like, fuck, okay, I actually have to teach them, or I actually have to try to make them enjoy the class, or I actually have to try to figure out how I can get them to learn more and stuff like that. But I mean, if I had free reign, like, I wouldn't care unless they showed me that they wanted it.
See, I saw two methods in my high school. One method, and this came from the coaches, because most of my teachers growing up were my coaches. Like, my history teacher was my coach, my physics teacher was my coach, my math teacher was my coach. Like, I was in sports every season. Like, all my teachers were practically my coaches. So, like, I already knew if I acted up in class, I was going to get it when it came to practice. That was that side. And that's another thing that when it comes to teachers is the coaches had a little more patience in class, because they knew, oh, wait till I get you on that field. Mm-hmm. Suicide, sprints, all that stuff. Like, they just knew. But then the flip side, the teachers that weren't coaches, even though this specific one was a coach, but she wasn't my coach, what she did, it wasn't a discipline thing. It was a motivational thing, which was, if you're doing good in my class, I don't care what you do. I remember when I learned that, I made sure every quiz, every test, I got A's. And I left that class early every time. To the one point, one student called out, like, why does he get to leave early all the time? And she said, if you make the grades like he does, you can do whatever the fuck you want. Verbatim, that's what she said.
Does he have her hair in a ponytail?
Yes. Oh, yeah, do you know what I'm talking about?
No, not at all.
Oh.
I didn't go to your school.
Oh, fair. But
how does he know?
She actually taught all of us, all my brothers.
Teachers that did that, man.
Dude, it was
gave an ultimatum like that.
Yeah, it was dope.
I chased it. I was like, all right. I remember I had one science teacher, and she was just like trying to get us to all, because I mean, I went to a pretty impoverished school area, so like,
same.
Getting kids to pass the state exams was hard for them, you know, just because like the level of education and like the level of income there in the area. I remember I didn't really care about the class, but like I was coasting through it, and she was like, all right, if you all get like a 90% or above on the state exams, you don't have to come to my class for the rest of the year, and you pass. And immediately once I heard that, I was like,
okay, bet.
That's the goal.
Exactly.
I was the only one in that class that did it, and I never fucking showed up ever again. And she caught me one day in the hall, and she's like, I didn't actually think you wouldn't show up the entire time.
You said it.
Coming every night, but I was like, you made the deal.
You said it.
She was really pissed about it though, and so she did pass me, but she passed me with like a C for the rest of like the last 6 weeks. I guess it made sense. Like, she did keep her end of the deal, but I think she was so disappointed that I just like stopped completely, even walking through the door. She was just like, all right, I'm only gonna do the minimal on my end too. And I was like, all right, cool, whatever.
I guess.
But I got a free class period.
She should have elaborated more specifically what she meant then, because if she said you don't have to come to my class anymore, then it's like, hey, that's what you said. If you wanted me to come in every now and then to show up, just to show face, you should have said that.
Well, sorry, let me just mention this, because I actually think I worded the story wrong. She said you will pass my course no matter what.
Okay.
And so when she said that, I just stopped showing up. So I did kind of dick her out.
Okay.
And she got pissed, and she was like, "You fucker." And so she gave me the C. So I did pass, but she only did the minimal because I took super advantage of it.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Makes sense now. Go on, John.
I was about to say, if you can put cameras on every cop vest, I'm pretty sure you can put cameras in every classroom.
No, they did it in hallways. I remember being in the hallways. There was cameras everywhere.
There's nothing that should be going on in the classroom that it's my privacy, full audio, everything. If you can put that,
even less teachers. That so many teachers I wouldn't teach.
Yeah, right. Like
it's not even for the teachers. It's
right.
It's to protect the teachers.
Arguably, to protect the students. Do you think who that would affect? Who do you think that would protect more? It's not the teachers.
I believe there'd be a certain decorum that the student would have to show.
You think they would? I don't think they would at all.
I mean, I could just say on the camera. I'm not even going to argue with you. I'm just going to look at the camera. Like what? If you yelling, I'm saying, hey, if I'm, however it begins, whatever happens.
Case optimistic.
Okay, then if the context of his situation, for example, if he feels like he's being unfairly, if he feels he's being unfairly looked at, right? The North Carolina teacher feels it's been unfairly because it's out of context. If that camera would have provided the full context of what happened, and he feels he's genuinely right, he would have said, "Look at the camera." You know what I'm saying? What are you teaching that you don't need to be on the camera?
Maybe that is the answer. Because something like this, we need
obviously pay the teachers more. Obviously, we're not trying to say, oh, spend money on that instead of paying the teachers.
Definitely pay the teachers.
Put the camera. Like nobody should be scared of a camera.
Not modern teachers. We get new teachers and pay them
at all. And then some teachers record their lectures, so you can if you miss the class.
You're talking about like professor level work. That's why I think the only way that would work is if you pay
the teachers more. 100%. But they should pay them more regardless.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But regardless, also if they want to stop stuff like this. If the kids know, oh, well, the content, I can't just pull out my camera and show one half of the story. They have to minimize their interaction in that escalation of that story because they do not want to seem or come across as antagonizing as they might have been without the cameras.
Yo, thanks for making it to the end. We really appreciate it and hope you all enjoyed the show.
Make sure you hit that subscribe button, that like button, and the notification bell to get notified when we post our clips.
Follow us on Twitter at PodcastFDT. Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok are all fake deep thinking. Check us out, please.
FDT. Peace, y'all.
Peace.